Hey guys, making another video, and this one is going to be on Magic the Gathering Commander, and specifically talking about mana, primarily the mana rocks. So, if you're new to the game, there are artifacts known as mana rocks, and these are artifacts that tend to get you more Um, mana that will allow you to cast the creatures that you want out. So this helps speed up the game. It's definitely a core necessity of EDH or Commander, whatever you want to call it. And here's a few that I have. These are actually straight from my deck on my Captain Sisse deck. And I'm gonna talk and then explain maybe the pricing on some of these and give you an idea on some that you may want and some that you may not want, depending on the deck that you're using. So Mox Opal is a great card for every deck. It is very expensive though. I was lucky to get it under 60. It's usually going for about $60-$70. Well, occasionally you'll find it under 60 on eBay or some other place. Usually eBay is where you would find it pretty cheap, but you could also try TCG Player, and TCGplayer.com is a place that I usually go. That's how I got my Captain Sisse for $12, which was pretty decent. At least I think so. And it was definitely, they said it wasn't in that great condition, but it actually is in great condition, I think. There is no marks. The back looks fine too, so I don't know how they do their grading, but it was pretty. I think it's good enough for me. So the Mox Opal is one of them, and it allows you to tap and add one mana of any color to your mana pool. The problem is that you have to have 3 or more artifacts. So this is not for every deck. Obviously, if you have like 5 color decks and whatnot, this will be fine to put it in. Or if you're able to search for legendary artifacts or other artifacts, like in my deck, I have lots of cards that work with it. Like, here we go. Enlightened Tutor. Enlightened Tutor allows me to search for an enchantment or artifact. I have another card that I'm going to be getting soon that also is green and white, and it allows me to search for an artifact or enchantment, and it also protects all artifacts or all enchantments. So, I mean, it depends on your deck and what your need is, but I mean, this one can be a maybe. Now, this one is probable yes. This is Thran Dynamo. You don't have to get the foil version. The foil version is pretty expensive. Let me see. I'm going to be looking on TCG Players. Costing, yeah, it's only $5 for the normal, and the foils are like $30. So that's pretty crazy. So yeah, you can even find Thran Dynamos in not the best conditions for $3. So it's a very, very, very cheap card. Yeah, mine's like $30. So I didn't even know that, but definitely you don't need to rare out, and I would actually recommend not getting the higher rarities. Just go for what's cheap. Build your deck first, and if you like your deck, then invest in it. So, and you can always sell these cards to anybody who is building EDH, because they always will take these kinds of cards. Gilded Lotus, very good, and definitely a card that I had undervalued. It's a card that if I get it, in my Captain Sisse deck, I can get out every single legendary card that I have, all the way till the last card, which is usually the legendary land that I can play for next turn. This is a more expensive card rather than this one. This one I would value at about $3 to $5. This one is right at about 10. I'm looking to see if there's one that's even cheaper than that, but no, all three. There's from the Vault, M15, and Meridian. So, or M13. And they're all at $10. So, I mean, it's more expensive, but it's definitely a very good investment because it gets you 3 of any of the one color that you want. So I could get 3. Usually, what I'll want is 3 planes, but with it untaps, with the effect of Paradox Engine, I can tap it again and get 3 of another color or that same color. You get to, every time you tap for it, you get to choose the color, which is awesome. Another card that's really good is Chromantic Lantern. Sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once. But Chromantic Lantern it's a $10, $12 card, and it is a very good card to get. Do not get the Masterpiece series version. That's $75. I actually don't even think that the artwork's worth it for me personally. But yeah, it's a good card to get. If you can trade up for it, I would recommend it. Paying for it, it's okay, it's good, but it's not something you're gonna need off the bat. It definitely helps. However, what's really nice is that the first effect, lands you control have add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And that's an effect I tend to forget, and a lot of other people tend to forget too in EDH. It's something that is very, very, very good. And it also gets you 1 mana, so what's better than that? And it's only a 3 cost, whereas like Gilded Lotus is 5, and Thran Dynamo is 4. Mox Opal's 0, so when I'm using Captain Sisay, I get that out. It could be the 3rd artifact, and now I have 3 artifacts that I'm in control with, and it instant out, which is why Mox Opal is so good and why it's so expensive. So for people that are wondering why it would be so expensive, that's why. The next one is Chromox. This one is an iffy one. I actually kind of don't like it because every card that I have in my deck, I feel has a use. So exiling is very difficult choice for me. I have cards that are in my deck that I have specifically just so I can exile to get mana and whatnot. One of them is my legendary creature. Shoot, I can't remember her name off the bat. Should be right here. But basically, it allows you to get mana of whatever card you have exiled because it has imprint. Which is great. So, like, if I exile Rise the Redeem, it has 2 different types of mana. So therefore, I get two different type or 2 different choices on 1 mana that I can have. Because of the imprint ability. It is very nice to have. I do not think it is really worth having unless you're towards the end of building your deck. And even then, I don't know if it's even worth it for that. But it works for my deck because mana, once I get the mana, it completely goes off. So it is a good card for me to have. But I don't think it's really worth getting. It's like $20, and I think it's kind of a waste in a sense of money, unless you have that money to spend and you're willing to spend it, which I was. Now, another one I got is Moss Diamond. This only works for if you have green. If you have a green mana deck, but there's also like the signets as well. Unfortunately, I didn't pull any out. I actually don't have a signet with this deck yet. I ordered it, but I haven't gotten it yet. But the signets are very good. You tap it. I mean, you you pay, I think it's 2 or 3, and you tap it and you get 2 choices of mana. So it's great for 5 color, 3 color, 2 color, 4 color mana, different mana commanders. So it's really, really good. And they're really cheap. Like this one's like $1 maybe. So in the like Selesnya Signet and Dizit Signet, all of those are less than $1. So that is definitely a way to go and a great way to save your money, because that's what I did with my Sliver deck, and it worked out really, really well. Another one is Sol Ring. This is a definite must-have. Everybody knows that this is such a good card. For a 1 cost, you get 2 floating mana out. I can do this game turn 1, get out any land, cast this out, and get 2 mana. And let's say I have Uzumaki Jete, and I can just put it out there on the field. It is so good. If I get Sol Ring out, usually that means I get a turn 2 Captain Sisay, because my deck searches for lands using elves, and also I have creatures that create mana, any kind of mana, and green mana and whatnot. So it helps speed up your deck so much if you're able to get it. However, don't just have just one of the mana rocks. Get a lot of them. You don't want to just depend on just getting one, because the draw is that's unrealistic, very unrealistic. You might pull it 5 games, and then the next 20 games you won't. It's just that's even probably giving you a little bit too much hope there. It's probably like 1 of 20 actually. So I would recommend definitely getting a bunch of these. Like Thran Dynamo is great, Gilded Lotus is great, Chromantic Lantern and Sol Ring is great. The last one I wanted to talk about was Mana Vault. And I feel this one, it is, I believe it's $5 or so. So it is a possibility for you to put it. But I just wanted to mention, it does have a very bad drawback that to untap it you have to pay for, and it does deal damage to you. Damage doesn't matter too much, but I mean, it says like 10, 20. I've bought mine recently for like 5 or 6. So I think that this is a little bit wrong, and I bought it off TG2 Player. So I'm sure you guys can find it for about $5. That's really where the value actually is. It's really played for, not for a heavily played one or a decent one. It should be about $5 or $6. That's what I would have priced it as. So when you're also looking at mana, obviously you want creatures that build mana, like Omnath, Elvish Mystic, and Birds of Paradise. Unfortunately, you're going to be looking at green for those kinds of cards, because that's really where most of the cards are. Same with the sorceries and instants and the enchantments. So, 2 that are very similar that do the same thing is Kodama's Reach and Cultivate. Those are must-have cards. They are so good. If you have a Burgeoning, you can play like you could play your land, have one come in, and play another one. You just got 3 lands, and that can really, really put you so far ahead of the other players, especially early game. So definitely would recommend those cards if you're running a green deck. And then just mentioning like some other cards that are good is like Search for Tomorrow and Crop Rotation. Allows you to search for a land, and you got to put it on the battlefield. And Gaia's Blessing, which is not the greatest, but it does give you the draw. Because you are going to want draw as well. Now, I'm not going to get too much into draw. I just wanted to mention that draw is another way for you to get mana. If you draw a lot of cards, and let's say you play Gaia's Blessing, and then you get a land out of the draw, you then get to use bargaining to play an additional land when it's the opponent's turn. You can do that very easily, and it will put you 2 steps ahead of your opponent. And those kind of choices, those kinds of plays change the game so much. Let's say let's say I go into this, that goes into this, that goes into this, that goes into this, and I'm able to get this, and this all out on turn 1, and even that is insane. And there are decks that can do that. My deck doesn't really work that way. It heavily relies on actual creatures too, but Mana Rocks, it can help any deck so good, and that's why I wanted to mention Mana Rocks, because they are very, very good. And it's something you gotta learn, and as a new player, that's the first thing you have to learn. You can just get a whole bunch of Mana Rocks, and you'll be set for building any deck. Your deck will be that much better with Mana Rocks, depending on what deck you're making, but for the majority of decks, it is really good. Here's a couple of cards that are really good Mana Rocks as well. Obviously, I don't have the pricing for all of them, but like Mana Crypt is really expensive. Some of these cards just get so expensive. Commander's Spear is so good. I don't have it. I definitely do need to get it. And this, actually, I'm going to show you guys. It's wizardcupboard.com. This is a very good article just on Mana Rocks and mana ramping itself. And I mean, it tells you all the important ones like Mana Vault, Mox Opal, Darksteel Ingot, Basalt Monoth, Grim Monoth. Just all of these. It has pretty much a list of all Mana Rocks that you could possibly get. And as you can see, the more you go, I think that's it, but the more you go, the more the higher the cost it is. Like Monograth is 2, whereas you get other ones like Sol Ring that's only 1. It varies a lot, and you also got to think about that when you're building your deck. When are you going to be playing this? For me, I could play a Gilded Lotus on turn 2 or 3, depending on what I have. My deck can run that fast. I can even get it out. I just played my deck, and this was the fastest this deck has ever gone off is turn 3. Turn 2, Captain Sisay goes into getting my Mox Opal, which gets out. I was able to get out a whole bunch of stuff, add to the mana, untap. Then I was able to use my Enlightened Tutor to tutor out my Gilded Lotus. Use Omnath's ability to save mana so I can actually play Gilded Lotus. By playing Gilded Lotus, I get all my creatures out. It is a very, very, very overpowered card that definitely does not get the recognition that it should be getting. It can help make or break a game, and it is very, very, very important to study all the Mana Rocks. See which ones you want. I'd recommend going with the cheaper ones first and go off from there. Sol Ring is a definite must. I would actually start. That should be your very number 1 Mana Rock that you should get. I know there are Commander decks that do have Sol Ring in it, and Commander decks, the pre-made Commander decks are all really good and perfect for starting out. But I wanted to make a quick video. Well, it's not quick. It's going to be 20 minutes, but I wanted to make a very important video on this, helping out all of you who are brand new to the game and learn what is the best way to go about it. This is step number 1 by far. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.